Yes. Ma'am, you can start. We are live.
Very pleasant morning to each and every one of you who have joined today. This is Dr. A.S. Nagalata, Associate Professor, teamed with glad to welcome all of you on this second international on Research Outlook, Innovation and Research Trend 2022. On behalf of our organizer, College of Teacher Education, Negro Oriental State University, Dumaguete City, Philippines, School of Social Science and Humanity, BA Abdul Rahman Crescent Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai, Department of Commerce and Department of Computer Science, IDE, University of Madras, Chennai, Dhanalakshmi Srinivasan Arts and Science College, Mamallapuram, Chennai, International Journal of Advanced Study and Research Work, Mumbai. We are glad indeed to welcome every one of you for this today's session. The aim of ICROIRT 2022 is to provide a platform to the academic scientists and researchers to exchange and share their experience through presentation and publication in all aspects that enhance the boundary of their skill sets. With this note, we start today's session. We have Dr. A. Peer Mohammed, Vice Chancellor, BAS Crescent Institute of Science and Technology. Before inviting Sir, I would like to give a brief introduction about him. Sir enhanced himself from professor in Department of Textile Technology and promoted as a head of Textile Department in Anna University, and uphold many duties as director in Center of Affiliation of Institute, Planning and Development, Center of Faculty Development, Controller of Examination in Anna University. With this brief introduction, I invite Dr. A. Peer Mohammed Sir to give an inaugural address. Sir, please.
Thank you. From our side, good morning to all of you. First of all, I thank Dr. Nagalata for a nice introduction about me. And Dr. Nera Radwan, the chairperson of today's program. And she's representing two countries, Egypt and Saudi Arabia. And of course, another chief guest, Professor Dr. Libertine, is from Philippines. And from our side, Professor Rangarajan, head of the Department of Commerce from University of Madras, and our Professor Ayub Khan is the Dean, School of Social Sciences and Humanities, and other organizing persons. At the outset, I'm really very much happy to participate in the inaugural program of the second International Conference on Research Outlook, Innovation and Research Trends. It's a multidisciplinary conference involving many eminent persons from different parts of the world. I could see that the representation from Philippines, as I said, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and from Turkey, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Ethiopia, Kosovo. So these are the information I could collect from the brochure provided. There may be many also actually. So it's truly international in nature. And the topics also, it's spread over for 2 days. Other eminent personalities are presenting their paper, and with the main objective of promoting research, as I understand. And promoting research, particularly in the academic area, our faculty member, our research scholars, they should come in contact with their counterparts doing research in the different parts of the world. Really, research. should result in some useful product as well as into some useful service. So the society should be benefited out of that. So that should be the importance of doing research. And bringing out a new product which is useful to the society, a single person, I would say that even not a single university can do that. It requires a lot of collaboration. So this kind of conference actually bring different people together under one roof, and everybody comes to know about what is the kind of the depth of research going on in the other parts of the world. And of course, it will lead to a lot of networking and improve their depth of knowledge. And they can also spread their wings into different collaborative areas. So definitely, I would say that organizing this kind of a conference would bring a lot of benefit to the society. So as I mentioned that the research should not stop at the laboratory level, definitely. So of course, sometime back, I would say that so some 10 or 20 years back, doing research itself is a great work. Publishing a paper again becomes also very important. And then, of course, getting a patent is a great achievement. So now, actually, people are not content with all these things, publication and getting a patent, actually. It should be commercialized. So that's the most important thing. And again, I repeat, commercialization, individual cannot do that. You should have the collaborative skill and the knowledge. And of course, he should have a depth of knowledge in his own area of specialization. So on two aspects, on innovation as well as for collaboration, these two are important. So innovating, we should require a deep knowledge, and collaboration, we require a wide spread of interaction. On these two aspects, I would say that this conference would help bringing more people together, and of course it will finally result in improving the standard of living and the well-being of our fellow brethren living around us. And definitely, particularly in this pandemic period, sharing our knowledge, helping others becomes more and more important. And the topics, just when I go through that, I could see that wide-ranging topics are covered, actually, on a general topic like research methodology, of course, about the online learning, and that's also very important. So the whole world gone online. And of course, we have not come out of that online. Probably we maybe end up with blended learning. So we cannot give up online learning. So the topic of online learning, and of course, the topic of AI and DL also, particularly on COVID detection, and of course, identifying the depression of the people, actually. It's all very relevant topic. And a topic on physically challenged people, and of course on economy also, how we can recover from the recession that is we are facing. So a lot of topics are covered. It will be all highly helpful to all the participants. I understand more than 400 and 500 invitees are participating from different parts of the world. And I thank actually the 5 organizers: the College of Teacher Education, Philippines, and the Department of Commerce and Computer Science from University of Madras, and of course our own School of Social Sciences and Humanities, B.S. Abdul Rahman Crescent Institute of Science and Technology, and Dhanalakshmi Srinivasan Arts and Science College in Chennai, and International Journal of Advanced Study, Mumbai. So all these 5 organizations coming together and hosting this international conference for the benefit of our academic people. Definitely, good venture, good initiative, and good effort I congratulate all the people associated in organizing this conference. And finally, before I end, I would request that this kind of conference proceedings activities need not be limited to academicians. We can involve people from the industry also. So the industry participation is very, very important. And the research, isn't it, whatever we do, it should be finally translated into product only through industry. So we could involve, as I understand, there's not much industrial participation, but you could involve more people, associated people in the relevant area of research. So that would be highly, definitely beneficial to one and all. So I thank for inviting me to participate in this program. I congratulate the organizers, and I wish that all the participants to listen to the lectures of eminent personalities and derive the full benefit out of the lectures, and they could improve upon their research work, quality of work, and definitely come out with some new solution to all the problems which will finally improve our well-being. Thank you all. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir, for giving an overview on the conference and innovation connected with research. Now, we have eminent personality as a chairperson of the session, Dr. Niyana Radwan, Faculty of Engineering, University, Egypt, and Abdulaziz University, KSA. Before inviting Dr. Niyara, I would like to give a brief introduction about Madam. Can I, ma'am? Dr. Niyara Radwan got her PhD degree from the Mechanical Department, Faculty of Engineering, Egypt. Then she got a scholarship to the Technical University in Sofia, Bulgaria, to get a diploma in mechanical engineering. Besides her academic tasks, she worked with many quality accreditation bodies such as ABET, AMBA, AACSB, Quality Assurance Officer for the Master and PhD program in King Abdulaziz University. A research interest in the field of sustainability, digital transformation, renewable energy, solid waste management, recycling, optimization, and supply chain management. Dr. Niyara has many international projects. She contributed and published many papers in high quality peer reviewed journals. Moreover, she is serving as an editorial board member and reviewer in many international journals. Dr. Niyara is an international speaker. She participated as a keynote speaker more than 25 international conferences and webinars in many countries. To name a few, speaker in international workshop on research methodology, defining and redefining, organized by Institute of Management Studies and Research, Pune. International webinar post-COVID-19 superpower computer science, healthcare, innovation, technology, personal branding, which is organized by Department of Computer Science, Sangam University. Keynote speaker in international webinar, journals, search, citation, and bibliography, which is organized by Department of Computer Science Engineering, Bhagwan Parasuram Institute of Technology, and the list goes on. Niyara is an active member in many international academic community. To name a few, Country Director, Egypt in Asia Africa Development Council and Sustainable Peace and Development, member in Asia Logistic and Supply Chain Council, Malaysia, member in Global Education Policy Network, Saudi Arabia, the State University of New York at Buffalo, United States. Honorary member in the International Research Committee in Sangam University, member of the board of director and external evaluator for Accord University, Somalia. Member in Organization of Women in Science for Developing World, based in Italy. The member of World Association of Professional Scientists, Spring 2022. Dr. Niara got many national and international awards, to name a few: Certificate of Recognition, Award of Excellence, AMBA accreditation, Work Contribution from King Abdulaziz University, Award of Excellence in Education Development from India. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome chairperson to share her thoughts. Thank Madam, the floor is open for you.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from Saudi Arabia. I'm now in Saudi Arabia and in Egypt. First of all, I would like to thank Prof. Priyanka for her invitation to be among you and to be part of this prestigious conference today. Thank you very much. I would like also to thank all the organizers for their great effort to organize the conference. My thanks and appreciations to all speakers and all audience in the conference. I want to thank Prof. Muhammad for his great message about the importance of research and innovation, and this is a target of this conference. So I wanted today to focus about the innovation and an important aspect in our life. Innovation can make a difference in addressing urgent development challenges such as providing access to drinking water, eradicating neglected diseases, or reducing hunger. The transfer and adaptation of technologies developed in developed countries can often contribute significantly to these goals. Research efforts are needed to find solutions that address other goals challenges. Effective international cooperation that involves both public and private bodies is an important mechanism for finding these much needed solutions. Moreover, one of the important lessons of the past 2 decades has been the pivotal role of innovation in economic development. The build-up of innovation capacities has played a central role in the growth dynamic of successful developing countries. These countries have recognized that innovation is not just about high technology products, and that innovation capacity has to be built early in the development process in order to possess the learning capacities that will allow catch up to happen. They also need innovation capacity and local innovations to address challenges specific to their local context, such as tropical diseases. Ultimately, a successful development strategy has to build extensive innovation capacities to foster growth. While innovation is important at all stages of development, different types of innovation play different roles at various stages. In earlier stages, for example, incremental innovation is often associated with the adaptation of foreign technology, and social innovation can improve the effectiveness of business and public services. High technology based innovation matters at later stages of development when it is both a phase or a factor of competitiveness and of learning, which allows for completing the catch up process. Also, as part of the broader policy agenda, innovation helps to drive economic growth and address social economic challenges such as poverty and health. Many growth enhancing innovations also address social challenges For example, poverty-related effects can sustainably influence opportunity for engaging in entrepreneurial activities, so addressing social challenges can also encourage in growth processes. For example, in India's Green Revolution of the 1960s, innovation led to the introduction of high-yield varieties and seeds and increased use of fertilizers and irrigation, and this resulted in a substantial increase in grain production. This is not only raised agricultural productivity, but also directly addressed food scarcity among the country's poorness. In spite of its demonstrated benefits for meeting the immediate and long term development goals of emerging and developing countries, the relevance of innovation and the innovation and research for these economies is sometimes questioned. Such things is often based on a narrow view of innovation as high technology. It is true that an exclusive focus on high technology industries can be costly if the potential for innovation in other sectors is ignored. Countries can incur high costs without reaping any benefits if they choose sectors that require expertise they lack and are internationally high competitive. Also, and finally, skills play an important role in innovation. Low educational attainment local of quality and the capacity of the educational sectors at all levels can hold back innovation. With limited budgets for education, one difficulty is in striking the right balance between the training of high skill specialized, which is costly, often concentrated in a few disciplines but essential for the promotion of innovation at the international level, and training at the primary and secondary level, which, if absent, reduces the capacities of the economy and the development of the whole business. This is just introduction about the importance of innovation and research. So I would I wish all success in this important conference at because research and innovation is very important in all countries to make more development in all sectors. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam, sharing your wonderful thought on positivity side. I would like to invite our chief guest, Professor Dr. Libertine D. Guzman, Dean College of Teacher Education, Dumangu City, Philippines. Professor Dr. Libertine have addressed many international conferences and webinars. She honored with many academic awards for her contribution in the field of research. With this note, I welcome our chief guest to share her thoughts in the online mode. Madam, please.
For giving our university and the College of Teacher Education this second chance to collegially work with this organization. The first stint we had was last year, sometime August 29 to 30, 2021. This academic convergence gave us the chance to meet people and share ideas. Why it's important for one to present data at scientific conferences? Allow me to borrow the ideas from Kelly Dunn of the American Psychological Association. We present data for various reasons, and one of which is to contribute to and learn about the most recent advances in one's field. The second reason is to advocate for one's science. Perhaps one of the most important benefits from conference presentations is the ability to advocate for one's science. Representing one's field of interest allows researchers in other disciplines, policymakers, and the public to become aware of the innovative research being generated in one's particular subfield. The third reason is to learn how to talk about one's data. Conferences provide a way to practice one's presentation skills and can help one develop the expertise needed to discuss his research in a clear and meaningful way. The fourth reason is to contribute to one's overall research profile. When on the job market, graduate students often compete against other students for ideal jobs or postdoctoral positions. So this presentation will help develop, enrich his biodata. The last reason is to meet other researchers in one's field and potential contacts for future positions. The presentations that one give and attend are likely to be frequented by researchers with similar interests, giving one the opportunity to discuss one's research and learn valuable information from people working with similar techniques, populations, or statistics. With these in mind, this academic event is timely and necessary. My warm congratulations to the organizers and the presenters, as well as the attendees, whose long drive for more knowledge will be satisfied through this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Experts are trained themselves from and every opportunity they equip themselves. Now we have an expert thought by Dr. T.R. Rajalakshmi, madam, postgraduate in Philosophy Council and Psychotherapy, and she equipped herself in Divya Prabandham and Vaishnavism. I would like to give a brief introduction about Madam. Dr. T.S. Rajalakshmi chaired technical session which is organized by ICAI and University of Madras, currently acting as a special educated student counselor and Ricky Master. As being an excellent motivated speaker, today Dr. Rajalakshmi Madam is going to address the topic on Know Yourself. And I request Madam to share her own personal positive experience to overcome the rare disease like Ricky. Madam, please.
Thank you, Madam. To start with, a warm greetings from T.S. Rajalakshmi from Bangalore, India, to team IJSRW and the organizers of Second International Conference on Research Outlook, Innovations and Research Trends, ICROIRT-2022. Let me at the outset thank the team in charge of this international conference, and a special thank to Madam Priyanka and to my friend and professor Madam Shanti of Commerce Department, University of Madras, who gave me this wonderful opportunity to speak before this elite audience. Madam, can you see my screen? Yes. The topic for today is Know Thyself. Why did I choose this topic for today's talk? As the previous speakers, Dr. Peer Mohammed, Dr. Radwan and the madam, who spoke about various skills, technical skills, knowledge in the respective fields. We're also talking about the job profile, biodata, identifying depressions, and such areas. In this, apart from the technical skills and the scientific knowledge in each one's area of expertise, soft skills play a very important role. Self-awareness or know thyself is a very important one. Is this just an inspiration? No. This is a process, a journey, an adventure which enables Entails to dive inside from our surface knowing of oneself into all deep, hidden, unknown layers of oneself. To discover, to understand, to realize, to know this real self, to partake of every experience, whether good or bad, happy or sad, right or wrong, as a learning experience on the path of growth and progress. If the aspiration to find the real self is sincere, everything will be organized by an unseen hand to take the one closer to one's soul's calling. Now, let me start with the word of the famous poet Khalil Gibran. We are not enclosed within our bodies. Rather, in his words, you are not enclosed within your bodies, nor confined to houses or friends. That which is in you dwells above the mountain and rose within the wind. It is not a thing that crawls into the sun for warmth or digs holes into the darkness for safety, but a thing free, a spirit that envelops the earth and moves in the ether. Vague and nebulations is the beginning of the things, but not their end. That which seems most feeble and bewildered in you is the strongest and the most determined. Is it not your breath that has hardened the structure in your bones? And is it not a dream which none of you remember having dreamt the builder your city and fashioned there, isn't it? Could you but see the tides of that breath, you would cease to see. And if you could hear the whispering of the dream, you would hear no other sound. But you do not see, nor do you hear, and is all well. The veil that clouds your eyes shall be lifted by the hands that wove it, and the clay that fills your ears shall be pierced by those fingers that kneaded it. And you shall see, you shall hear, yet you shall not deplore having known the blindness, nor regret having been deaf. For in that day you shall know the hidden purpose in all things, and you shall bless the darkness as you would bless the sight. This is in the words of the poet. Now, the phrase know thyself, let me come to the subject. It is seen in the ancient Indian Upanishads, which says that Atmanam Vidhi, know thyself. Those who know the self are free from the jaws of death. It is not only, it is seen in Katha Upanishads generally, the same Atmanam Vidhi, and it is also seen in many of the Upanishads, which is the central theme of the Indian philosophy. Now, the same phrase is also seen, know thyself, as the way to the future was inscribed on the portal of the temple of Apollo of Delphi by the 7 sages of ancient Greece. It became the foundation for the Western philosophy through Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. When Socrates, the modern moral philosopher, cautioned man, know thyself, many scholars were inclined to have construed it from a banal perspective. Others saw his clarion call for knowledge of self as the basis for the true understanding of the self, a possible mystery of self-development of the same, and the society for the overall benefit of the self and the others. Theaetetus saw it as a call for the self-perception. It suggests that the perception is the gamut of knowledge. But when we say perception is a gamut of knowledge, then misperception also will be double for its knowledge. Descartes, for us being cognizant of this, identified a way out of all these uncertainties, confusion, and doubtful experiences. He opted a complete beginning from his being. This was a radical approach towards the self-discovery and identification, perhaps the response to Socrates' bid. But we are left with certain questions. What is the extent of self-knowledge? What is this concept of knowledge about a person? Is it physical or metaphysical? What is underlying benefit of self-identity to self and others, and lot more? But to know thyself also is a self-help appeal. Is this your aim? Yes. Is this your aim to accept yourself? That is, knowing oneself. Is this our aim to accept ourselves? Well, even to know that, one should know thyself. Or is it to make good decisions that are right for you, be it in any industry, be it any walk of life? Again, this would also be difficult without knowing oneself. Now, to know thyself, first, we should know what we mean by the term self. Let me begin with a story. Emperor Janaka, who is said to be the son-in-law of Lord Sri Rama of the great Indian epic Ramayana, he went to sage Yajnavalkya to sought wisdom. Now, there is a conversation between the guru and the disciple before the guru or the teacher decides to impart the education. The Emperor Janaka asked Yajnavalkya, what is the light by which man is served? The sage answered him, it is by the light of the sun that man sits down, goes out, works, and comes back home. The emperor asked him, if the sun sets, what then is the light by which man is served? The sage replied, then it is the moonlight. Now the emperor asked him, if there is no sunlight, if there is no moonlight, then by which light man is served? The sage replied him, firelight. You make fire out of it when there is no sun or moon on a dark night. Make a fire, and the firelight is the light which serves man, and it is by this light of firelight that man sits down, goes out, works, and comes back home. The emperor again questions the sage. The sun is set, the moon is also not there, and the firelight is also not available. Then what is the light by which man is served? The sage answered, sound. Yes, the sound serves as a light so that the man sits down, goes out, works, and comes back home. The emperor again puts a question. when there is no sunlight, when there is no moon, there is no firelight available, and it is still no sound, then what is that light by which man is served? Now the sage is pushed to the corner and he replies to him, it is the self, Atman, or the inner light, which is within one's own self. Again, sage Janaka asks him, there are so many principles, so many things are within a man. Now, which is that self? So that self is the inner light. And when there is a quest to know that self which is within each one of us, and to know what it is, to be aware of what is within us, the light within us, which guides us when nothing is there around us, then that awareness, when the quest is being explicit, the sage started his teaching to the emperor. Now, the theories of personality formulated by the psychologists Freud, Jung, Murray, and many others are the result of the modern man's attempt to understand himself. They are truly in accord with the Upanishad saying, as I said it earlier, Atmanam Viddhi, that is, know thyself. Now, why this topic, know thyself? As I said, it is very important to know who am I for me to do anything. Now, each soul, as we call each of us, is potentially divine. We have infinite powers lying dormant within each one of us. The very purpose of knowing ourselves is to unveil the potential within. And even the scientist, anyone in any walks of life knows that it is not a myth. It is a mere common sense, and it is also a scientific fact. Let me take a quote from Swami Vivekananda. He says, you have to grow from inside out. None can teach you, none can make you spiritual. There is no other teacher but your own soul. And what is this awareness? Awareness can be attributed to the state of witnessing. It is said to be the first step in one's inward journey, as it aids in looking within us. And when we look within us and gain the powers of the potentials within us, you evolve to a higher plane. When we evolve to a higher plane, this awareness, he says, to be very careful. To live in this awareness is to remain as a pure being. That is the true state. And the important one is without the least tint of an ego. Because the moment man goes higher and higher, the first thing which is affected is by his ego. So when we become more aware of ourselves, one should shed the ego, the I. Now, we are familiar with the terms like self-awareness, self-knowledge, self-assessment, self-control, self-determination, self-empathy, self-purity, so on and so forth. Now, when we are talking about this self, with this background, what exactly is this self means? Is it the spiritual self which Upanishads and the philosophers talk about? Or it is the psychic self or the intellect self, which we have to see now. One can be known on the philosophical front, one can be known by withdrawing. The other can be known, the awareness of the self, the other one can be known only by participation and perception. Now, when we talk about the self, to admit the sad truth is that man's knowledge of himself or the self has not kept pace with his great growth in his knowledge of his external world. He knows what is happening around him much more than what is taking place within him. This discrepancy is the root cause of all the troubles which we see today. However high in a position a person is, it is no doubt sometimes he is subject to emotional turmoils, which cannot be addressed by any technical skill he possesses or his position in his society. So it is utmost important to know the nature of the human self and to fill the gap between his knowledge of his inner world to that of his knowledge of his outer world. So what should we do? The outer looking into the external world and the internal looking into our inner world, what is taking place within us, within these four walls, should be taken out without losing the sight of the reality of the outer world. This is the thing which differentiates between the spiritual self, which the philosophers talk about, the self-realization, renunciation and other things, and the self which we are going to discuss on this platform. What is remarkable here is that the way in which the outer world or the empirical phenomenon and the inner world of the psychic experience, these two things has to be reconciled for a better results. Now, how does this reconciliation? When this reconciliation takes place, then it gives out, we are almost on the scientific, on the rationalistic ground for the encounter between the divine and the human within the mind of each one of us, within the mind of the man. Now, discussion on the spiritual self is not the topic on this platform. Then to know the psychic, yes, then to know the psychic intellectual participatory self, let us call it by whatever name it is. Now, what does this mean? Spiritual self, anyway, whatever philosophers speak, which is eternal, which is constant, doesn't undergo any change. So we will leave this here. Now, the other part of the self, which we are going to be aware of, is going to travel with us in our day-to-day life. Now, this other part of self is going to live with us and die with us. The awareness of this self and the contemplation on this self is that what we are going to see now. Out of the many skills, as I was listing out earlier, the most important thing is self-awareness, because it underlies mostly all the other soft skills. When I am aware of my strength, limitations, when I am aware of my likes, dislikes, values, so such and such a thing, then it helps me to develop the other soft skills. Now, before we manage, how do we do that? Before we manage our interactions with others, that is how man is a social animal. So you can't be all alone always. So to any moment forward, a step ahead to start with, you have to interact with the other person. So we must first understand what is our own thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and actions. Now, by understanding our strengths and weakness, how we cope with stress, by understanding how we speak to others, we will be better able to tailor our actions to the people we are with. Now, by developing this golden skill, as I mentioned, that is self-awareness, know thyself, knowing oneself, we will be better able to understand the thresholds for stress, thus making us better able to cope up and bounce back in the face of difficulties. Here, I would like to just narrate one small incident which I met when I was giving Reiki sessions. One law student came to me. This happened about 15-18 years ago. She came with a rheumatoid arthritis problem. So when I scanned her body, before giving the Reiki treatment, we scanned to see what is the problem at their aura level and at their chakra level. So when I placed my hands, palms on her stomach portion, I could feel like it is boiling. We say the stomach is the seat of emotions. So we say butterflies on the stomach. Whenever you are happy or you're sad or you have a sense of fear, sense of insecurity, immediately that emotion is felt only in the stomach part of the body. So then when I counseled her, when I spoke to her, what is the problem with her? The only thing is, she is the only daughter. amongst 3 brothers. Everyone is educated in the family and brought up in a traditional family in our customs. She was not given the same preference or the same stand or the same platform as the parents give it to her brothers. So this, it might look to be very trivial, very simple, a bit senseless also for the other person from the third person point of view. What is a big thing about it to get into the self, to get affected? But this lady, being sensitive, she was always brooding, why it is so for me? Why am I not given the preferential treatment? Why am I always being sidelined? So when you harvest bad thoughts, the consequence also will be negative. So it is always better to harvest good thoughts. So whatever you harvest will be your yield. This lady, after a session of counseling, session or 2 of counseling, made her to understand what is her inner potential, how she has to bring it out, and what is her priorities in life. If she wants to be a soft-spoken lady, a calm sister, and a housewife to carry on her household, taking care of her family, fine, that is her choice. But if you want to become a professional, career-oriented, outspoken, if you want to come to the limelight in the society, be successful in life, that is one's choice. But whatever be the choice we take in our life, one should not have regrets. That only makes to travel in a happy life. That is the ultimate purpose of anyone's living. We earn, we acquire power, position, everything, ultimately for a happy living and a healthy living. The moment that awareness is being brought, when her thoughts are kindled, a miracle happened. Slowly she started recovering from her arthritis problem and whatever way of life she chooses. That's a different part of the story. But what I say is here is, when we have the self-awareness, what is our strengths, what is our limitation, what we want in our life, then that thought process makes you feel what you are and what you want. Now this awareness will make you cope up with and bounce back at the time of difficulties. That is what I wanted to emphasize or stress in this. And why is this self-awareness critical? Mostly as I covered and how is it relates to our personal and professional life. So the episode explained would have given you the answer why it is so critical for us to have a awareness of our needs about who am I. Now, before when I start, why it is critical, when I want to do the self-awareness analysis of myself, what I am, who am I, what I should know is I should know to identify our own beliefs, values, motivators in relation to that of the others whom I am going to interact in the society. Identify the stressors and how I do react to them. Then enact everyday strategies. So when we do that, what we have to do is we have to have a plan and to build a self-awareness within ourselves. How do we do that? So when we do it planning with a planned strategy of knowing our own value system, our own beliefs, our own customs in relation to the others, and especially when we are on the global platform, which we are today, then it puts you in a very comfortable position with clarity that how you interact with others. So this helps you to communicate and build a stronger relationship with others. Not only that, when you are aware of what you want, what are your thought process, what are your value systems, then you feel more assured in what you convey in your thoughts and your feelings. And this also will help you to anticipate the other thoughts and also help you to tackle these stressful situations. And you become more decisive. When I say we become more decisive, what happens is you are not in a confused state. The self, when I say know yourself, this what am I only helps me to know what I do. Now, When I do this, in this process, what happens is sometimes I get signals, negative thoughts which I could not face, or there are certain bitter realities about my own self which I am afraid to face crop up, and it comes as signals. Most of the times what we do is we are afraid to face the signals sent by our own system about our own self. We try to brush aside. What we do is, but we need not we need not relieve these negative emotions, but what we should do in the process is just notice those things and understand the presence of that and then deal with them. That is enough. That is also very easy. But to do this, what we require is that a higher level of cognitive processing, or you require more information gathering. That is what is going on within you, how do you perceive what is happening outside, and the information is available which is thrown to you by the entire world. What happens is the more knowledgeable you become of the external factors, and how you assimilate, understand, accepts also gives you and increase your adaptability and flexibility in you. Now, once we are aware of, understand what exactly is the self, which I have to deal with it in my day-to-day life for my progress or for my success, then what happens is these people, what do they show? They are with more self-confidence, their success rate is more, and they can significantly have an impact on the others around them. Now, as I told you, repeating again, it is not a moment of inspiration. It is a continuous process. And what we require for this is an objective reflection and experimentation. And when we do all those things, when I say self, what happens is we also says that it requires an objective analysis, but the word self itself says that it is subjective. When I say I, it is a subject in a simple English grammar, first person. When I say you, it is a third person. So then how to have an objective analysis? A simple mechanism is we can ask a friend or a relative whom we trust to know about our strength or weakness. This might help you or this might not help you, but an insight is being obtained and we are able to perceive what we are in the eyes of the others. That is, it gives us a clear understanding of what I am, as I perceive myself, one thing, and as I am perceived by the others. So this is one more thing is when the people are at in a higher platform or in a higher position, this becomes a little difficult for them, because when we are on the top of the ladder, normally with that experience and power, what happens is we think that we are more aware of ourselves and we overestimate our abilities. So now, one thing is, even at that stage, you can ask a friend or a relative, or you can ask your subordinates to rate your leadership qualities. Nothing wrong in that. We know where we stand. So there are so many other techniques like that, asking a friend, then doing an objective analysis. Yes. Now, one more area we can venture out is that coming out of our comfort zone, placing ourselves to a new situation. Like what Siddhartha, a prince, became a Gautam Buddha. Buddha, who was a prince, when he wanted to find out the reason for the miseries the world is facing, what he did was to find out an answer. He withdrew himself from the world around, which is a comfort zone for him as a prince who had been brought in a royal family and brought. He left everything and went out all alone in search of the truth. So this sometimes will give you a unique insight. I don't say that you have to withdraw from everything, but you place yourself in a place yourself in a different situation, outside of your comfort zone. That is one thing which might help you to know where you stand and what you are actually. Now, with these background things, there is one psychologist who says the problem is that none of this, that is the understanding of the self, is based on the realistic picture of the self and how we make decisions. This whole knowing thyself is a business not as simple as it seems. That we all know. It doesn't require somebody to tell us. In fact, it might be a serious philosophical muddle, he says. Now, just let us look into this angle also when I say know thyself. Now, what happens is, adding to that, apart from knowing myself, what happens to that to make these things worst? Most of the time, when I say I am so and so, I am aware of what I am. What I mean is I make opinions, I make judgments, and then I feel that this opinion or this judgment of mine is I. I hope you all got it. I am not my opinion. My opinion is not a permanent thing. My opinions or my judgments, my values, my perceptions, my ideals also are subject to change. Is that the bitter truth or the truth one we have to realize? And most of the time what we do is we just brush aside these things. We have to know that what we are at this moment, what I as Rajalakshmi as at this moment, where am I a good speaker, or was I a good speaker, or will I be a good speaker at a future date? I do not know. I can think about the past, but about the future, I do not know whether I will be able to speak also. Because there was a condition, just to quote from my personal life, there was a condition when I had a immunity failure, when my speech was not proper, the most part of the body did not function. I was in ICU. It was as doctor says, is the will of you. You had a very strong will and the grace of the God, which brought you back. But then that willpower, that for I have to survive, then what should I know? To have that willpower, to have that surviving instinct, this is not only subject to your physical ailments, this is subject to our industrial ailments, this is subject to our any walk of life. Be a scientist, be an industrialist, anytime this sickness might crop in. But how are we going to come out of this sickness? The industry is sick, we say. The entrepreneur has faced all failures. So this ups and downs is there in everyone's life, in his personal life as well as in the professional life. But then unless until we are clear and aware of the self as I defined, when it takes to the individual, it might be the self I. When you take to the industry, it has its own concept as self, which is the life force for that industry. So in any walks of life you take, I just want, being a research forum, when I say this self, what I'm talking is not the spiritual self again. The self which is going to be the life force, which is for an individual, it will be a different self, a life force when it comes to an industry, which revives the industry, which makes the industry come out of its sickness. What is essential is that awareness of that concept self. So that is very important. So if we don't take this change into the cognizance, if you don't understand that change is the constant thing, then what happens is this awareness is not full. It's not perfect. Now, if a caterpillar wants to just think that it is the final of that self, then it will never become a butterfly. So unless and until the caterpillar accepts the change, it cannot fly freely like a butterfly. So this is very important thing. How to inculcate this? What happens is that as a child, to just it's to start with that, to bring that, kindle that awareness within us. Now a small narrative. Now a 9-year-old boy just starts a fight with another kid in the school, in the playground. Now the teacher comes and asks him one question: given what you said to the other kid provoked this fight, if the same has been said to you, how do you feel? It's a very simple question, but it just kindles the thought process and makes the self-assessment of us, that who am I in somebody's eyes, or how to view others in my through my eyes. So when this clarity is being built about the self in relation to the other self, then the most of the problems which we find today in various across the cultures and countries will vanish. As I said, this change has to be accepted. A change, a difference is there, which is constant, and that is the only constant thing. And once we are aware of that change within the self in the individual sense and the global sense also, these troubles can be, or the problems which we face can be solved. Now, just towards the end, to sum up, now as I said, the danger is, I have already covered this, it is in the identity of the self-opinion becoming, viewing it as self-awareness. So what happens is, to sum up, we have only touched the glimpse of what, to understand what is the self which we have to deal with to have our life successful, to travel in the path of growth and success and the universal brotherhood. And other thing is to know who am I, what are my cultural values, what are my thought process in relation to the other persons globally. So once we understand, and once this awareness dawns about me and others, know thyself, it applies to each and every one of us. Once we develop this awareness, what happens is, it is a holistic approach. Know thyself is not constrained or to be restricted to knowing one's own self, sitting alone thinking about my own self. No, it is the awareness of me in relation to others, which is more important in the present day scenario. So again, to revisit Swami Vivekananda, we have to grow from inside out. This is what nature teaches us. A small seed, we see it grows out from within into a very big tree. A butterfly comes out of a cocoon. So to know this, it is easy to say that you understand yourself. But when each one of us tries that we understand ourselves, we have the awareness of our self. The self consists of our values, emotions, feelings, our status, whatnot, a part of our life which is subject to constant change. This, I repeat, this change is one thing which is constant, which all of us have to accept to become aware of our own self. And when we become aware of our own self, with this, accepting these changes, which is constant on a, to say, each and every moment of our life, and then when we accept others also with the changes in them, with the changes in the culture, then the human race will live with a peace, with a universal brotherhood. The very purpose of me choosing this topic is not to talk about the spiritual self, but the self awareness of who am I and how am I going to contribute to the universal brotherhood, so that when each one of us understand what we are in relation to others, we have a global peace and universal brotherhood. So with this, I would like to end my small talk. So as Swami Vivekananda said, again, we are, no other teacher can teach us better than ourselves and the nature which we are a part. Stay happy, stay healthy. Thank you so much. Madam, you are in mute.
Thank you, ma'am, giving an excellent and provoking thought of knowing our own self or what others consider us in their mind. Okay, so really a sensible one. I would like the participants to drop their questions in the chat box to get a clarity from Madam.
Welcome.
Madam, can you share your own experience, like how you overcome the rare disease? Like
Pardon?
how you made things stronger in that particular point of time?
See, I actually learned Reiki. Reiki is an alternative healing therapy, actually, which we call it as a pseudoscience. So it is, I learned this because, see, it is very difficult to get convinced just because somebody tells you. Only you can do something only when you are convinced of yourself. So my mother, who was suffering as a cancer patient, was cured by many Reiki healers when she was in Chennai. So when I felt that when somebody could heal this and bring my mother out of her sufferings, why can't I also learn it and do it for the society? We are all made up of the same structure, no? No one is with a different, all of us have got the 2 hands, 2 legs, and 2 eyes. So we are all made of the same, almost same physical structure with little variations. So I thought, why not I learn it? So I learned Reiki from a Reiki master. I learned it through 2, 3 Reiki masters. Then I started practicing it. It is a healing therapy where we have been taught to scan the chakras, the emotional, the emotional imbalance or the physical imbalance of the people. Because we say mind, body, and soul, no? So most of the times we become physically ill when we are not mentally healthy. So the mental illness will result in physical illness. Most of the times we see. And when you are
Yes.
physically ill, you are not mentally strong because it is interrelated. Your physical and mind is interrelated. So when I found that it is mostly that when we try to develop the skills to keep ourselves mentally healthy. Okay, for physical health, you have lot of medicines by many research doctors and other things, which will give you a temporary relief. But for the mental health, it is for us individually to develop this. So this Reiki was one technique where we were known to understand the relationship between our thought process and the physical, and then we give healing to ourselves. See, when I say I give healing to myself, the first thing is I take the responsibility and the understanding that I want to get healed. The moment you think that you want to get healed or you want to be healthy will bring you 50% out of the sickness. Like as I told, the director or the owner feels that he has to bring the industry out of the sickness, then 50% he himself will start getting the solutions. So whether it is in the individual sense or the industrial sense, it is that we have to have that thought process that I have to become healthy. So that first then you take the responsibility. Yes,
Ma'am, it is part of prani healing, ma'am.
Part of?
Prani healing.
Yeah, pranic healing and healing are one and the same. It is just using the healing powers which is available in the nature. We just take it and heal ourselves and heal others. But for anything else, for any technique, the first thought should be that I should be healed. I should be healthy. I should be happy. I should make others happy. These things should be there within us. So these are the things to be cultivated.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I didn't get any questions from the chat board. And thank
So
you,
there are
ma'am.
two
Thank you
options.
for sharing.
There are two options. One is I must have been clearer in my delivery, or I must have confused others.
Well, I guess
So
we'll stick with the first.
Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am, there is a question from from Paramak. It's thinking like an innocent child will help you to accept the fact that change in constraint. What do you think about this?
Thinking like an innocent child, then it should not only that thinking like an innocent child, the child does not know much of the things, because a child at birth is like an empty vessel. Culture is poured into it. As a child, we do not know many things, but as we grow, we learn many things. We are exposed to many things. Now the child crawls, it tries to get up. The mother doesn't, initially the mother helps the child, then allows the child to do on its own. So the individual effort is required. So one cannot always remain a child as an innocent child. See, you can be, you can gather knowledge, but still as curious as an innocent child to know many things.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
innocent child is curious to know many things.
Thank you, ma'am. So we have our next person is waiting on the line. Like we'll go ahead to the next session, ma'am. Thank you for your knowledge sharing. A wonderful talk.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Now I request our sir, Dr. R. Rangarajan sir, due to the technical issue, sir is unable to log in. Now we have our sir. The greeting is a gesture of humbleness and spreading the positivity. For this, I'll invite our beloved Professor Dr. R. Rangarajan sir, Professor and Head, Department of Commerce, University of Madras. Before inviting him, I would like to give a quick introduction about sir. Dr. Rangarajan sir has more than 2.5 decades of teaching experience, and he have contributed much duties in university and played a major portfolios at university. He have recognized as a research supervisor for guiding PhD and MPhil both. Sir has successfully given graduation. The PhD candidates have successfully completed on his caliber. Sir has given 31 PhD candidates and 68 MPhil candidates successfully, and he is an active academician. So he presented many papers in national and international, which has been published in UGC CARE listed journals and Scopus indexed journals. Sir has successfully completed UGC major research projects and is active member in many associations like Indian Accounting Association, Indian Commerce Association, and All Indian Management Association, Indian Tourism Congress.
Thank you, Nagalata. Hello, thank you. Enough. Very good afternoon to one and all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Nagalata, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm very happy to be with you all. Especially I'm thankful to Dr. Shanti, my colleague, for putting her tireless effort to bring these 5 institutions, especially to BS Abdul Rahman, where we have been doing for quite a long time. And I am also very happy that the program is scheduled for 2 days and with focusing on multiple areas, especially on the broader term of research and innovation. So when you say research and innovation, it is always that research is a continuous process. As long as you say research is a continuous process, innovation goes together. Now, during this pandemic, every one of us become innovative. Every one of us become researcher. To be frank with you, this platform of logging through Facebook is also a research item to me. I have to depend on my daughters, ask them to find. Then even though Dr. Priyanka Chopra said that we did in the last year, probably somebody would have helped me. And the same opinion was given by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Peter Muhammad Sir. We people are in the process of learning throughout, especially throughout the technology. So when the research comes, research is with everybody. It is up to the individuals to make use of it and focus on it. If you take for my area of research is on HR. And in our department, we specialize each and every one of us according to their own area of specialization. For example, my colleague Dr. Shanti will be on banking and finance. Dr. Bhuneshwar will be on finance. Dr. Yuvraj will be on HR. In fact, Dr. Shanti will also do on marketing. So like every institution has got their own set of people and faculty member to take care of this. So I request to all the participants through this international conference, like our Honorable Vice Chancellors have said in the morning, try to integrate this industry, research, and the academics. Of course, as rightly pointed out by VC sir, it is not very easy. And the second point also, I stand with him, commercialization of the value of that you are finding it up. Majority of the research with regard to our academics for the degree and for presentation, probably we may have to think going and extending it further and having a collaboration with even a small industry and to try to bring some changes in their operation, that would be better. I also request all the participants to contribute much, and I wish each and every one of the entire 2 days program a grand success. And I know very well it's a combination and combined project of Institute of Distance Education, where we have Director Ravichandran and the coordinator Sasikala, along with my colleague Dr. Shanti and my other colleagues. I'm happy to be as a part of in this program. I thank each and every one of you, especially to Crescent Abdul Rahman University and this International Journal of Advanced Research and all the other co-hosts. I wish the program a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for this welcome note. And now we have an expert thought. We have an next panelist like Ms. Rania Lambu, neuro educator, researcher, STEM instructor, Director of Educational Technology and Innovation. I would like to invite Madam. Before that, we'll have a quick introduction about Madam. Ms. Rania Lambu is a global educator, STEM instructor, ICT teacher trainer, neuroeducator, researcher, international keynote speaker, author of scientific books for kids and global peace ambassador in Greek. She has a postgraduate degree, MS, in language teaching related to cognitive neuroscience, and she is also a passionate researcher on cognitive neuroscience and cognitive education. Currently, she is a STEM instructor at the Greek Astronomy and Space Company, and she is also working at the Greek Ministry of Education at the Doctorate of Educational Technology and Innovation, where she is writing projects for Greek schools. She has been awarded many national and international prizes, over 120, and she is a Global Teacher Award. She received the Global Teacher Award for 2020 and 2021 winner and the Global Teacher Prize finalist in 2019. Recently, she has been selected as a global icon for 2020. So among top 10 women enterprises, she featured in the Fortune, and among the top 100 top most successful women in business, she featured in Amazon Books. Further, she is a socialist and global peace ambassador, senior advisor of United Nations Peacemaker Federal Council, and ambassador of the Eurometric Dolphin Union. She is also a member of Educational Committee in Union of Collaborating with Harvard University. He is a Global Council member of Chartered Institute of Leadership, Education and Development, country chair of G100, Igniting Dreams of Young Mind Foundation, and a member of International Institute of Influence. She is also an international executive member and hold her credibility in such wonderful area as a membership, and she is an editorial board member and reviewed many journals, and she's presented her research in numeric international and national conferences, and he She has given many e-conferences and she has published books in various channels. And her introduction list goes long. So I would like to stop with this. And Madam has a lot of achievements and year to go. With this short introduction, I would invite Madam to take a session. Thank you.
So, good morning from Greece. Thank you so much for your lovely introduction. I'm very, very honored, very excited to be today in this significant conference about research and innovation. And actually, today we're going to explore the crucial role of STEM education, the curriculum of the fifth industrial revolution, since STEM is the future of education, undoubtedly. We're going to discuss some innovative approaches and strategies when we teach STEM and in particular science in the classroom, which is the role of women in STEM-related careers. And in the second part, I'm going to present you some of my multi-award winning projects related to physics, astronomy, and language teaching. Always we talk about the STEM projects. So can I share my presentation now? Is it visible? Can you see now my presentation?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay. So we are in the age of the fifth industrial revolution now. Actually, we are in the threshold of the fifth industrial revolution. And this is changing the world around us with, although we have this legacy of the fourth industrial revolution with artificial intelligence, with robotics, big data, Internet of Things, and its new tools. The main challenges are related to the exponential growth of digital tools that include robots, communication systems, data centers. The impact on jobs and industry that these tools are creating is huge. And huge also are the opportunities that we have to tap, because we need highly skilled, flexible, but at the same time emotionally and socially intelligent manufacturing professionals that can solve tomorrow's problems already from today. So futurizing education for building a workforce for enterprise 5.0 will need a more robust professional framework. Education plays a very important role in ensuring the skill readiness of the labor force. So general education as well as vocational education have a critical role to play in making this labor force ready and to take full advantage of the opportunities created by advanced technology. We need actually a similar revolution in education, because we need to ensure that students and teachers alike get the best possible teaching learning experience. So this calls for what we call Education 5.0, experience for students and teachers. Unfortunately, still today, most colleges and schools were still teaching subjects in a non-traditional way with same old course content. So any discussion on the future of work should go hand in hand with a discussion on the future of the curriculum and, of course, about those who eventually will deliver it. So in industry 5.0 has a lot of opportunities for academic institutions to upgrade themselves in the next level. For instance, universities, colleges, research centers, government agencies should get involved in this process. And faculty 5.0 should go hand in hand with curriculum 5.0. We are faced with the challenge of redesigning actually the curriculum of this foundational education to keep up with the evolution of skills to solve problems, to innovate and succeed. Because as I said before, as a society, we are failing, unfortunately, to meet the challenge, and consequently, we fail to adequately prepare the next generation for the future. So how will future generations will thrive in a changing landscape? How can education training providers keep pace with this unprecedented level of change? We have three levels of change when we're talking about redesigning the curriculum. First of all, upgrade the technical side, of course, of the curriculum to accommodate the learning of next generation robotics, additive manufacturing, smart materials. But at the same time, we need to integrate non-technical disciplines in the curriculum in order to develop cross-cutting competencies and a mindset beyond technical expertise. We need to pay special attention to the question of ethics, social inclusion, diversity, sustainability. That means that we need to incorporate also sustainable development goals as they described in the Agenda 2030 of the United Nations in our lesson plans. And we talk always about holistic approach. And what will be this learning environment we're talking about? And when we talk about STEM, we talk always about problem-based learning, project-based learning, challenge-based learning, and inquiry-based learning. Because we need to stimulate learners to work on challenging real-life problems for which there are no established answers, encourage learners to contextualize their theoretical learning in relation to how it will be useful in the world around them. And instead of focusing on standardized thinking, correct answers, objectivity of judgment, we need to create a learning environment that will stimulate creativity, forming of all opinion, divergent interpretations. And of course, we're talking about a culture that accepts mistakes and develops the ability in students to turn these failures into valuable learning experiences. As I said before, we need to offer real-world problems and experiences to students, such as the problems that they were going to face later in their lives, encourage collaborative learning, and stimulate technology-enabled, of course, learning. We have new patterns of collaborations because we move towards a paradigm of lifelong learning. Educational institutions need to evolve and occupy new roles in the ecosystem. And here we have some new patterns of some new opportunities. For instance, this could include collaboration with companies, manufacturers, technology providers, startups, other educational institutions via joint platforms, via thematic networks, peer-to-peer learning, supporting structures such as industry, associations, government, community, etc. So we need to further increase university-industry collaboration in terms of both volume and diversity of collaboration forms, to acknowledge the role of industry partners as educational, research, and employment partners, to facilitate, as I said before, peer-to-peer learning, create more opportunities for exchanging experiences with other institutions, create effective learning ecosystems that engage all key stakeholder groups, and shift from human-machine interaction towards human-machine collaboration. So what are the new trends in 4, but also in 5.0? That learning can be taking place anytime, anywhere. It's what we have seen already with the COVID pandemic. Learning means that e-learning tools great offer opportunities for remote self-paced learning. Learning will be personalized to individual students. Students should have a choice in defining how they want to learn. So when we design the curriculum, we need to take into consideration the needs, the interest, and the rhythm of our students. Students will be exposed to more project and more hands-on activities. When we talk actually about STEM, is hands-on always. And we talk about also new methods of assessment. Already here, during the COVID pandemic and remote learning, we talk a lot about new innovative methods of assessment using usually new technologies. According to the World Economic Forum, the top skills in 2020 was complex problem solving. It's the first one skill when we talk about STEM, critical thinking, creativity, and emotional intelligence. Why? Because we are, as I said before, at the threshold of the fifth industrial revolution, but all the experts have tells us that the fourth industrial revolution, the previous revolution, has failed because we have ignored the human factor. So here in the fifth industrial revolution, humans should go along with machines, should collaborate each other. Teachers should maintain their human character when they're teaching. So we talk about the human also dimension. We should focus on the human dimension. That means social emotional learning at the same time with technical expertise. That means we could encourage, for instance, play-based learning when we talk about primary education especially, create safe environment, develop growth mindset, foster reflective reasoning analysis, provide appropriate challenges, and use hands-on approaches. So what is actually a STEM as we move towards a new knowledge, new model of economy, what we call a knowledge-intensive industry? we must meet existing demands for skills and develop skills of those who will drive technological change and productivity. So competitive STEM-based skills is vital to our future. And STEM projects, actually, STEM is the acronym of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And these projects focus on inquiry and student-led investigations through open-ended real-life problems and hands-on activities, empowering students to become out-of-the-box thinkers and creators. Very important, STEM is related to what we call inquiry-based learning, and this is the process actually of identifying problems, reviewing experiments, selecting alternative design investigations. And the main science inquiry process is actually orienting and asking questions, generating hypotheses, planning, investigating, exploring, creating models, etc. We have the 5E model. It's the most common one of inquiry-based learning. There is also the 7E model. Here we can see the 5E: engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. And this scientific model actually contains these phases, is what I'm trying to adopt, this model, what I'm trying to adopt when I teach them. Question, students investigate scientifically oriented question. Students give priority to evidence. They analyze evidence. They formulate explanations. They connect explanations. They communicate. And finally, they reflect on their own learning. Of course, STEM education reflects the 4 C's, as we know: 21st century skills, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication. And what are the characteristics of STEM-educated students? They're problem solvers, they're innovators, they're inventors, they're self-reliant, they're logical thinkers, and technologically literate. So what are the main principles of STEM learning? That learning should be a lifelong process, that learning should include everyday experiences, that new technologies should define the content practices of STEM, broader sociocultural and political factors should be defined, and students should deal responsibly with the technology. If we integrate A in the acronym STEM, we have STEM. Why? We have arts. Why? Because we need, at the same time, to emphasize the value of arts alongside in skills in technology, engineering, and maths. So we need blended skills, creativity, design, entrepreneurial skills that can facilitate innovation and problem solving. So what is this famous all around the world STEM approach? STEM is an educational transdisciplinary approach that aims to promote research spirit, logical thinking, social skills, empirical inquiry, learning, autonomy, arts integration, active participation of students through trial and errors. So this STEM approach fosters motivated capabilities of express innovation. We all know contribution of arts, especially when we talk about art and science. Art and science complement each other. Why? Because they both need passion, they both need inquiry, intuition. So it's very, very important to combine these two, especially in primary education. Here you can see what is the difference between disciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, disciplinarity, and transdisciplinarity. Multidisciplinarity includes subject-specific concepts that are learned separately. Interdisciplinarity is when we try to learn to teach a subject from multiple perspectives. For instance, if you want to teach environment, you try to approach this through a geological point of view or mythological or historical point of view. This is interdisciplinarity. And we have also transdisciplinarity, is what we call, that's in STEM, which actually is a holistic approach because it tries to combine in a harmonious manner different disciplines to construct new knowledge. So integrated STEM is what we know now. It's a new concept, brand new concept all around the world. It's an effort to combine 2 more cognitive disciplines at the same time. And this is the magic of STEM, that in one project you can combine 2 more disciplines and skills from many cognitive disciplines at the same time. For instance, if you want to teach robotics, in a robotics project, children learn at the same time mathematics, technology, because they learn how to program the robot. They learn about engineering and also physical sciences and art if there is aesthetical result. All this movement is related to what we call makerspace movement, which actually these spaces are open to kids, to adults, entrepreneurs, may have a variety of maker equipments. Usually they have 3D printer or other devices, but it's not necessary. You can also use simple everyday materials. So this is here what we need to clarify. There are two categories of STEM. What we call STEM unplugged. This is a STEM when we use simple everyday materials that we have in our house, such as Lego, cardboards, clay dough, anything that could attract attention for students. And we also have, of course, these unplugged activities. They don't need the use of computers, but they need to engage computational thinking dimensions. We're going to see about this. The second category of STEM is what we call what entails computational thinking. And this computational thinking involves solving authentic problems, designing systems, understanding human behavior by drawing on the concept fundamental to computer science. So it's actually, it has a multifaceted nature. It involves solving authentic problems, design, understanding human behavior, as I said before. And it is contained in many elements of problem solving that educators are constantly teaching the students. For instance, even teachers in kindergarten, they apply computational thinking when they try to teach steps to the students. They just don't know that this is computational thinking. So what are here you can see the components of computational thinking. The composition, solving a problem, involves solving a set of smaller problems. Pattern recognition, seeing a new problem as related to problems previously encountered. Abstraction, seeing a problem at different levels of details. And algorithmic thinking, the tendency to see tasks in terms of smaller, connected, discrete steps. Very, very important nowadays, it has become a trend to what we call physical computing, is when we combine the physical world with the digital world. For instance, using devices such as Arduino or Raspberry, students can take measurements in their home. For instance, to measure the noise, to measure the level of pollution, etc. So when we combine digital and physical world, this is actually physical computing. And here we can see some stages about what we call computational thinking. This is unplugged, making, tinkering, remixing. Making is what we said before, when we try to work with things, to make things, take things apart and want to develop things that solve problems. Tinkering, when we use, as I said before, when we use Scratchpad, Arduino, Raspberry, other platforms. So in this way, students can easily make the connection between changes in programs and corresponding changes in data. And what are educational technologies that promote STEM education? We all know about virtual reality. It's important. Why? Because it engages students, as it is an immersive technology that is also has been used in game industry. And this shows that can stimulate learning and comprehension. Clickers or keyboards is a classroom technology that allows students to respond and interact through small handheld transmitters. And these clickers usually have a 10-digit numeric keypad. And these actually are an effective tools, usually, especially in large classes, because they engage students by enhancing their active participation and enjoyment. We all know about the flipped classroom and MOOCs, massive online courses, open courses, the Internet of Things, and especially what we call Internet of Me. Internet of Me concerns wearable technologies. That could be smart clothes, smart watches, smart glasses, and these have many pedagogical applications, many applications in education. We also have cloud computing, which actually provides access to resources that can be requested and configured by the user. So this can provide e-learning services such as virtual worlds or simulations or video streaming, and it gives teachers necessary tools for lectures and labs according to the learner's needs. The teachers can create virtual computers, collaboration tools, or data storage in virtual learning environments. So new scenarios and innovations are possible through cloud computing. What's some innovative strategies of teaching STEM? As I said before, hands-on learning, mini labs, visual science, and remote labs, building models. It's something And we can see especially in physics, because models are the building blocks of science. And very, very trendy now, especially when we teach environment, is what we call crossover learning or outdoor learning. Is when we try to do field trips with the students. We take our students outside in the nature and do some STEM activities, hands-on activities. And in this way, children can learn to respect and to love nature, to respect the environment. When we go today to our students to do some science museums visit, for instance, or anything that has to do with activities outside the classroom. Mobile apps for science are a very, very grand variety of apps, body learning, P2P learning, flipped classroom, as I said before. It's very interesting to organize with the students science clubs, science exhibitions, what I'm trying to do with my students, science fairs. It's very, very interesting. And also you can leverage a wide treasure you can find on the internet, science quiz, interactive science journals, or movies, research books. Try to adopt always multimedia approach because we need to stimulate all the senses of our students. So we need to use PowerPoints or visual clues, strategies such as storytelling, role-playing, especially primary education, is very effective. So what is happening here so far? What is the progress in STEM education? Of course, there has been a significant improvement in STEM skills supply, but also the demand for the skills has also risen. Here, we need to clarify the gender STEM-based skills, the gender gap, because challenging the impression that science is only for boys and not for girls is still it's a challenge that still remains all around the world, because we know that the number of girls and young women pursuing many STEM subjects is lower than that of their main counterparts. And this, of course, results in STEM workforce with a comparatively low representation of women. So we need urgent action in order to ensure that the talent pool for STEM industries is attractive to both men and women. So here we can see, according to agenda of 23rd of United Nations, we have what we call gender equality, the STEM Development Goal 5, which concerns gender equality, and the National Day of Women and Girls in Science in 11 February. It actually celebrates the role of women in science. We all know that women were traditionally left behind in the world of science, the domain of science. And so far, what is happening according to UNESCO data? Women in STEM, less than 30% of researchers worldwide are women. Only around 30% of all female students select STEM-related fields in higher education. And from this, we can see only 3% in ICT, statistics 5%, and engineering, manufacturing, construction only 8%. So here you can see, with the exception of biological science, in all other fields, women are underrepresented. So what would be the key factor is actually a whole topic that could be a whole webinar about this topic. Of course, the key factors are gender stereotypes, usually the male-dominated cultures, fewer role models, and math anxiety. So what could be the recommendations about this? Raise awareness for girls and women are as capable as boys, promote public awareness, emphasize stronger visible role models of women in science fields, provide professional education to teachers, expand after school and summer STEM opportunities for girls, increase, of course, awareness, higher education, career opportunities, because universities have a key role to play here. So what happens with STEM in higher education? Enrollments in STEM disciplines in universities are increasing globally, and you can see here that STEM sectors are growing much faster than those of non-STEM sectors. But there is also a study that actually reveals something that we already know. The Rose study, the relevance of science and education study, reveals that science, as it is taught today, does not help students realize its importance to society. Why? Because the often fragmented manner in which STEM courses are taught in secondary education does not appeal to students and causes them to lose interest in science. School science does not resemble a real-world problem, real-world life problems and does not prepare students to tackle these challenges. So this has as a result that students lack a robust self-efficacy, they lack confidence, they lack interest, and at the same time, of course, we're talking about educators. We need to return to an early stage of educational system and focus on secondary STEM education from the perspective of higher STEM education. And we need a step change, and this has to start from primary education. Why? Because according to research, by the time young people reach secondary education, may have already switched off to science subjects. So they could have already reduced engagement, limit outcomes, and decrease the number who pursue the study of science to a higher level. So students usually are less enthusiastic about learning science, and teachers in primary schools, when they teach science, usually they face this set of challenges. They find problem in they have problem finding curriculum time, the level of priority given to science, the competence to teach science, and the relative lack of professional development around the subject. So you can understand that the teacher's weak subject knowledge, and of course the lack of training, a teacher who lacks confidence is unlikely, it's impossible to inspire students. So we need, according to some surveys that have already been conducted, it's very important that ongoing professional training STEM education for teachers, and this should include school and no-school experiences. So we need to reinforce teachers' core science knowledge, enhance their pedagogical knowledge in STEM, and reinforce their technological skills. So what is my personal experience with STEM? How I got involved with this magical world of STEM? I had the chance to participate in a very innovative program, science education program. It is organized by CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, and in particular the experiment, CMS experiment, and it was organized by the European Program Creations. Now it is organized by Rainforest and Frontiers European Program. And this actually, why it was pioneer, because it concerns teaching of particle physics and in general modern physics to primary school students. So this was a program was on a pilot basis. I was a flexible zone teacher. Then a flexible zone is in Greece a discipline where you can implement interdisciplinary projects. So I had students from 6 to 12 years old, and I had to teach them particle physics. What is the philosophy behind this program? Of course, that according to new research data, children should be exposed to the world of science at an early age. Why? Because this way they can understand scientific concepts and reason scientifically later. So this, according to this program, 10 teachers from Greece and 10 teachers from UK were selected. They visit the science installation, and there they get acquainted with the latest technologies, technological advancements of CERN, and they get experiment with different simple everyday materials in order to get familiarized with difficult and complex and abstract complex of concepts of particle physics. And of course, what is the goal is to help primary school teachers to invent innovative scenarios and lesson plans to motivate the students to get acquainted with new teaching approaches, to diffuse the knowledge required itself to feel confident, of course, when they teach science. What were the challenges that I had to face? First of all, I had to redesign the curriculum. Why? Because Greek curriculum does not include modern physics or astronomy, so I had to redesign activities in order to select materials that would be attractive to my students, as I said before, card, Lego, cardboards, Play-Doh, etc. I had to teach to very young children particle physics, so I had to take into consideration their age, their interest, their rhythm, and I had to work also with the privileged children. So I had to adopt the first category of STEM that I mentioned about STEM unplugged, and not the use of technology. Of course, another challenge that I had to face was that at first there were teachers who told me that I don't want my student of 7 years old to learn particle physics. So I had these arguments with parents. I had to arrange many pedagogical sessions and convince them about the value of STEM. When parents saw at the end of the academic year all these amazing arts and crafts that the students have done, when they saw that all my students told me that I want to be physicists and I want to go to CERN, this was actually the success of the program. And this is the goal, of course, of STEM, that our goal is not to teach them particle physics, but to help them love science at an early age. And it's not accidental that CERN organizes STEM courses in preschool age with great success. Apart from this, STEM instructor with the Greek Astronomy Space Company will organize many STEM workshops and lectures, especially from the privileged children. And of course, our aim is to increase scientific knowledge, to help students acquire elements of scientific method, to help them express themselves artistically, and to help them collaborate in original products. When I teach STEM, I always adopt an eclectic or mixed model that integrates elements from various learning theories and methodological approaches, such as constructivism, 5 model of instruction, is what I said before, project, problem, inquiry, challenge-based learning. New technologies, we used 3D printing. I'm going to show you later some photos. And we're talking about holistic approach because everything was there. There were not only physics, but also mathematics, mythology, history, philosophy, arts. And this is the magic of STEM. Many theatrical events that were children had written the scripts, and what was the outcome? The production of original, the visual, digital material in the form of educational resources about particle physics, popularized for all ages. Students perform many artistic activities, constructions, and depicted CMS particle detector in multiple ways using a variety of materials and techniques. Here I want to show you some photos before concluding. Here's is my recent program during the COVID pandemic. It's actually a program about how technology can help us protect our health and environment. Here we have miniaturized an apartment, and we have installed some sound detectors. And we used actually Arduino and other some STEM devices. And here are some examples of my workshops: how to build spectrometer using serial box, simulation of asteroids hitting Earth, how to build telescopes, constellations, solar lunar eclipses, supernovas. Here is also my book. I have written a book when I try to popularize science through a humoristic way. It's called Planetary Interviews. And here is what we have done during this program of CERN. This is the particle CMS detector, which is located at CERN. This is the inner structure. And this is what we have done. We presented, we depicted the CMS detector as through colleges with printing straws and pills, with jewelry, with wooden representations, 3D printing, a rather challenging program which actually lasted 100 hours for printing and 100 hours for assembling. Large Hadron Collider artistic representations of CMS, particle collisions at a CMS exhibition, models of the CMS detector using Lego, Higgs boson presentation, CMS at dessert, so gastronomy here, 3D printing here, global science and innovation, CERN markets, portraits of scientists, models of the solar system, galaxies, Big Bang, history of the universe, simulation of the CMS experiment with lead flash circulators, so you can find it free on YouTube. Particle detector atlas with technique shadow and light, many digital activities. So we leverage many all these treasures you can find on the internet. HP here reveal of augmented reality, virtual galleries, face of the moon using Oreo cookies, models of time electric generator, digital comics, functional model of an electric generator, interactive quiz using Scratch, a whole course of particle physics using classical games on the ground platform. Many activities, very huge program, which is a 3D timeline depicting all the theory of particle physics, production of radio show, the European School Radio about women physicists. Before concluding, I want to say that I am among the first educators at the global level that introduced STEM in language teaching. I organized a very popular live show, which actually has the accurate science and nose to bullying. And this program was addressed to English language teachers. Here we can see how teacher demonstrates physics experiment lemon battery. And why this is related to English grammar, because students experiment with different materials, and here you can see the interactive sheet. They formulate hypotheses in English grammar, and they say, if I use the safety pin with the bulb light up, so they perform a physics experiment at the same time they learn English. And why bullying? Because here you can see 5 yellow lemons and 1 green lemon. The green lemon is the one who is victim of bullying. So we introduce also sociology. And at the same time, we have arts because Gino represented also this theater. This is the magic of STEM. In one project, you have English, physics, sociology, and arts. And I'm also volunteer as STEM instructor in the Children's Oncological Hospital for refugees, and I'm the founder of many humanitarian STEM projects worldwide, all around the world, very successful in Africa and Asia, based on sustainable development goals. We aim at to promote positive peace. My most recent one is about gender-based violence, why peace emerges better option, combines STEM education and gender-based violence awareness. I also participate in the curriculum of Zambian teachers, designing STEM activities, and I'm fighting for the equality between women and men in the field of science. That's why I produce with my students radio shows and produce also educational video, which won in the European competition diversity STEM education. And my recent one, I launched here, the Greek Ministry of Education, where I'm working, a new program which is called SOS for Changing This Climate, and it's actually STEM project which combines education awareness, environmental awareness with STEM education and arts. For all this program, I also received over 130 awards. I was selected among the best teachers in the world with the Global Teacher Prize, Global Teacher Award, as a global icon and among 100 most successful women in the world. Thank you very much for your attention. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm here to discuss them.
Dr. Nagalata, you are on mute. Dr. Nagalata, you are on mute. Please unmute yourself. Dr. Nagalata, you are on mute. Please unmute yourself first.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. You have given a wide perspective of STEM and skill building aspects among the learner. It is an eye-opening and inspiring term. So, I was looking for the questions from the participants. I guess they have got 100% clarity on their understanding. So we'll go to the next session.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Great opportunity. Thank you.
A thankful heart is not only the great virtue, but the parent of all other virtue. To witness this, we have Professor Dr. D. Ayub Khan Dawood, Dean, School of Social Science and Humanity, BSA, Crescent Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai. Before inviting him, we have a small introduction about him. Dr. Dawood Khan, Ayub Khan Dawood has an illustrious academic career spanning over 36 years in teaching, research, and administrative training. So he has guided 21 PhD scholars and 95 MPhil scholars in the Faculty of Commerce Management and published more than 175 papers in various referred journals, both at national and international level. He has, to its credit, and authorship of several books in the area of management accounting, entrepreneurship, and general management. He is a part and editorial member in several journals, and he is a member in several professional bodies like Regional Vice President of Indian Council of Business Education, AIMS International. Sir is a recipient of MTC Global Award for Excellence 2019, Best Citizen Award for Research Excellence by Indus Foundation. He is a visiting faculty professor for University of Nigeria, Indonesia, and examiner for PhD theses in several foreign universities. With this brief note, I invite Sir to render the vote of thanks for this session.
Thank you, Dr. Nagalata, for those nice words. So I really feel very honored and proud to have the opportunity to present a vote of thanks on this special day, the second International Conference on Research Outlook, Innovation and Research Trends 2022. Let me take the opportunity to first thank the most respected Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. A. Pir Mohammed, who has graciously accepted our invitation and inaugurate the International Conference on Research Outlook, Innovation and Research Trends 2022. Dr. A. Pir Mohammed stresses the importance of innovation, collaboration, and industry participation in these type of forums. Next, I would like to take opportunity to thank on behalf of the organizers, the chairperson of this international conference, Dr. Nehera Radwan from the Suez Canal University, Egypt, as well as from the King Abdulaziz University, KSA. And she actually, talks on the very important aspect of innovation and the importance of innovation in the development of any economy. And she also stresses that how the research could able to find solutions to various issues. And she also talks on the green revolution and the various skills required to integrate and to move ahead with the innovation concept. I take this opportunity to thank Professor Dr. Libertine D. Guzan, the Dean College of Teacher Education from Philippines, and she also stresses about the new innovations in the educational forum. Next, I would like to thank Professor T.S. Rajalashmi. Actually, she spoke on the topic Know Yourself. She started with some of the quotes of Galil Gibran, and then she spoke about the importance of knowing oneself and how to, that reconcile between the external world as well as the internal world. And she ended up with the spiritual self actualization. And also, she talked about how to promote the universal brotherhood and the world peace. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Ragarajan, the professor and head from the Department of Commerce, University of Madras, for his felicitation address. And finally, I would like to thank the expert talk given by the Rania Lampu, the STEM instructor from the Directorate of Educational Technology and Innovation, Greece. Actually, professor has gave a plethora of view regarding the Education 5, and this Education 5.0 stresses more upon the upgrading the technical side and adopt a holistic approach, and the teaching should be on a problem-based learning. And she also talk on university industry collaboration, and she stresses the importance of shift from human-machine interaction towards human-machine collaboration. And she also talks about what are the new trends in Education 4.0 and the top skills required in order to cope up with the innovations in the teaching in 2020. And finally, she integrate the STEM education in today's world. And in fact, I am very happy and proud to thank the all other organizing committee members, especially Ms. Priyanka Gupta, who is like a one-man industry. So for the past 6 months, struggling very hard to conduct this international conference. And in fact, though we are supporting her, the whole credit will definitely go to Ms. Priyanka for all the excellent support and coordination, and that in bringing this conference to such a big level. And I would take this opportunity to thank Dr. Nagalada for comparing the entire proceedings, and she has taken a lot of input from the various biodatas of the speakers, and she has politely and in her own inimitable style could able to introduce the speakers and all. And finally, I would like to thank all the participants, because the success of this conference depends upon the involvement, the participations, and the presentations of various research scholars, teachers, professors from various states as well as from the countries. So, once again, I thank the organizer for giving this opportunity, and on behalf of all the organizing committee, I would like to extend warm thanks once again to one and all who are present in this conference. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, will be joining again by 3 o'clock of Indian time. Thank you for being with us. Thank you.